Hello there. Welcome to Just the Dis. We talk about Blu-rays here, but sometimes we talk about things that aren't on Blu-ray. And this is going to be another of my not on Blu-ray episodes. I've got a lot of stuff to talk about in this series, and so it's even difficult to, decide what to talk about because there's so much. For this week's episode, I'm going to talk about the HEARTBREAK Kid. This is it's directed by Elaine May, written by Neil Simon, based on a story by somebody else, and it is truly one of my favorite comedies of all time. Definitely one of my favorite films in the 1970s. One of my favorite films from Elaine May, who is one of my favorite directors, and it is a very dark comedy about marriage and relationships, I guess, based around the experiences of a sporting goods salesman played by Charles Grodin, who finds himself falling for a young lady played by Jeannie Berlin, who is, of course, the daughter of Elaine May. And it's a very whirlwind romance. We see throughout the credits, basically we have a song that plays over the credits. We see him selling some sporting goods. He goes on a date with her, and by the time the song is over, they're getting married. And before you know it, they're on their honeymoon driving down to Miami Beach, Florida, for the honeymoon. And immediately Grodin's character starts to notice some things about his new bride that are starting to bother him. And, not the least of which is she keeps talking about how you'll get used to this or that over the next 30 to 40 years, talking about how long their marriage is going to last until they're dead. And he gets more and more uncomfortable. They've never had sexual relations before, and they do for the first time. And you can tell it doesn't go particularly amazing, and things are not looking great for this marriage. Before they've even gotten to Miami Beach, which is, like I said, a dark subject, darkly funny to some, maybe not funny to others. And by the time they get down to Miami Beach, they spend the day on the beach, and his wife gets completely sunburned. I don't want to give away too much more. I'm just setting up sort of the basic where this is going. So she has to stay in the room the second day. Charles Grodin spots this lovely younger girl played by Sybil Shepherd, and suddenly starts to kind of go all in on courting her. She also gives him serious flirtations, and he just sort of rolls with it. And then it becomes this, again, very unusual and, again, not so funny to some. I find it particularly hilarious comedy of, a marriage dissolving and Grodin meeting Sybil Shepherd's parents, one played by Eddie Albert, and talking about how he's on his honeymoon. It's this crazy story, and it kind of goes from there. And it's a thing of like, how is this going to end up? Like, how will if the marriage dissolves, how can he possibly pursue a real relationship with this person? Does she really have any interest in him? But it's really classic Charles Grodin stuff. Like, he is giving some of his best deadpan performances, jokes, moments of having to completely lie about what he's intending to do and where he's intending to go while his wife is recovering from this horrible sunburn she's gotten. She's actually laid up in the room for multiple days, and he has to come up with excuses to go out to see Sybil Shepherd. And yeah, he's, a lot will think he's a real kind of scumbag, which, he is, but he's just so ridiculous about it, and his lies are so elaborate that there's something that becomes compelling in the comedy. And again, it's written by Neil Simon. The story is called Change of Plan by Bruce J. Friedman. And so it's got that sort of Neil Simon-y comedy thing, but I actually think it's definitely my favorite thing Neil Simon ever wrote. And it's not even based on his own stuff, so you can feel him in the writing. You can feel, again, Jeannie Berlin is just amazing. Like, playing this annoying character sounds like it would be easy, but she just does something with it that makes it, cringe-inducing and sympathetic at the same time. And, Sybil Shepherd, incredibly sexy, very flirty, and Grodin is just, out of his mind. He's he's so funny in this film, I remember seeing this first on a list of, I wish I could remember. I've talked about this magazine article. I want to find it again, but I can mostly remember everything that was on it. But it was an article about directors talking about their favorite underrated films. And this one was part of a group that, what's his name? David O. Russell liked. He called it part of a 70s trend of the unsettling ending, the 70s unsettling ending. And he lumped it in with Shampoo, which is another one of his favorites that he thinks is underrated. It was underrated at the time. It was definitely not on Criterion at the time. And this film also has an ending that's a bit unsettling, ambiguous, what have you. It's difficult to define where it's going. And I love that about it. That's one of my favorite things about movies like this is when they don't give you everything all laid out, you kind of have to go, okay. So anyway, incredible comedic performances all around. There's a remarkable scene in a restaurant that centers around pecan pie. I won't say anything else more about that. Sadly, this one is owned, I believe, by, I want to say like a pharmaceutical company that owns previous entry in this series, Sleuth, and a handful of other films. And I've heard they, not being a movie studio, are asking an exorbitant amount of money for licensing rights, making the films basically unattainable. They're asking so much that it's not going to be worth whoever's time to put it out on Blu-ray because they can't possibly, recoup the costs. So I'm hoping that either this company sells off those films at some point in some kind of a group deal, or they finally come to their senses and decide to sell them for a reasonable amount of money. Because it's really sad to me that this film has fallen out of the, conversation. I mean, still, I've seen an article about it out there about this one in particular not being on Blu-ray. It's not streaming anywhere. I don't think it's on YouTube right now. It will occasionally pop up on YouTube and get pulled down, but it is remarkably difficult to see at this time, and that makes me very sad, as I said, because it's one of my favorite films, and it breaks your heart to have a favorite film that is just not available for anybody to see, because you want to recommend it as often as you can, and it's difficult in this day and age when there's so much other stuff that people can see, and in this case they can't see this film. So I definitely wanted to highlight The Heartbreak Kid as part of this series. This particular DVD I think is fetching a lot of money right now. It's the widescreen 185 16:9 Anchor Bay. I feel like they did one that was full frame also, so there's multiple DVDs that have been issued by Anchor Bay, but you could get lucky. Check your local library. I don't think Netflix DVD has it right now, but you never know. eBay may have a cheaper copy, so I would say keep an eye out. I don't know when this one is going to get its issues solved, so it may continue to be an MIA on Blu-ray and streaming title for the foreseeable future, unfortunately. But know that if you do get a chance to see it, please take that opportunity, and hopefully you enjoy it. So thank you for watching this episode of the Not on Blu-ray series. And again, I encourage people to leave comments about their favorite Not on Blu-ray titles in the comment section below, and let me know what other titles you really would love to see come to Blu-ray. So thank you for watching and or listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.